just for
Well,
this.
I was gonna try this.
You
Actually,
could wear
I
it,
ordered
dude.
a shiny.
You could wear it like the freaking cloak from Harry Potter. That'd be awesome.
Wait,
On
hold
the
on.
Bay Bridge.
Hold on. Shh.
What are they? What are you, Jason? Shh, shh, shh. Shh, shh, shh. Oh my god. Oh my god. You're a weeaboo, Harry.
Weeaboo.
Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I'm Lucky.
Here I go! This hand of mine is burning red!
And I'm Michael. Realize the only ones who should kill are those who are prepared to be killed.
Johnny.
Your darkness swallowed up my son? Who decided that?
Erupting! Burning!
Now all of you.
Die.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I am Lucky.
And I am Michael.
That's Fropey. I'm Johnny.
And we caught them, guys. They're going to jail. It's just
What?
TBA now. It's Anime Casual. We're changing the name. And obviously, we all make up Anime Casuals. So let us get into our casual discussion today about unexpected fan service in anime. This is a very common theme in anime. Anime doesn't really stick to one genre per se. Like, if it's just serious, there are going to be some comedic comedic moments in there. So obviously, you're never going to get just like one straight across the board. Of course, there are definitely ones that fall into that category. But this time, we're going to be talking about fan service when it kind of just shows up, randomly. It's an interesting topic to talk about because I feel like in today's climate, there is probably less tolerance for the kind of fan service that happens in anime. But if you talk to people that watch anime regularly, it's almost like they don't even notice it until like they don't even notice like the smallest thing. Like if there's just like a random panty shot or something like that, it's not just they're not like it's just, normal day at the office.
Normal day.
What do you guys think about unexpected fan service? I mean, does it really? I mean. Not that it bothers you, but do you notice it as much as like maybe somebody who wouldn't be in the anime world per se?
So, Lucky, let's talk about this. So, there is this scene right here in My Hero that actually partially bothered me, mostly because she's like always a wholesome character, and like during that moment and during one other moment, she was fan servicized.
By the
right?
way, for everybody that is listening on podcast, he was showing a very provocative photo of Froppy, the frog girl.
Yeah, and if you don't know, it's that moment where she's in the fight during the one of the trials with oh my god, I forget everybody's name, Crowboy.
Tokiyami or something like that.
Tokiyami, yeah. And she has to get something out of her stomach, so she like frogs can do. She gets the handcuffs out of her stomach. Spoiler. And then she like immediately you see her like with like kind of drool going down her mouth, but the drool's super white. So it's just a weird fan servicey moment for the audience. And the other time is like during their first trial. No, that would be their second trial where they're at like the environmental rescue area, and you have little Grape Boy, Grape Rush, like squeezing her boob and being like, yeah, like squeezing her. And both of those to me were just moments unexpected. And like I was like, come on, guys, like you're showing her off as a decent like I had a perfect word for it. I've just lost it. And you're just showing her off as like this decent, very overall good character, and then you're like fan servicing her, and she's in high school, so it's like those moments are weird to me. There's other moments where we see not Midoriya. What's little Grape Boy's name?
What was that? Oh, Mineta?
Yeah, Mineta. There's other moments where Mineta, like, it's very classic. It's very high school. Like, where he's trying to look through a hole, like, to see the girls' locker room. That's very classic, like, like high school sitcom, right? Like that's like, oh, the boys trying to see the girls in the locker room. Okay, like, oh, he snuck into the locker room and he hid there overnight, like something ridiculous. But like, there's some other moments where I'm like, do you really have to show her with spit coming out of her mouth and with that very obvious fan service pose? I'm like, come on, guys, come on.
So is that actually the whole? That's everything you've seen, or is that cut at all?
What?
Because I don't remember exactly the scene. That picture that you had of.
That's literally that cut, that part. She's like, she got spit all over her mouth. And when I saw it the first time, I was like, what? This seems weird to have in here. That they cut out her pulling out her stomach and getting the handcuff keys, but then they showed that. I'm like, okay, you're showing my girl Fropey in a bad light. Now it could be I really like Fropey. I mean, if you look at my bottle, I mean, you got Fropey stuff all over it. But don't do my girl Fropey wrong. Yeah, that's like an example of when fan service just hits you across the face and see it comes out of nowhere. Now, any scene with Manette in it probably has fan service. You can expect it. But that moment where she like spits out her stomach and then she looks like, she just got a facial, like that was a issue. Like
You mean like a facial from a spa, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like she has
exactly.
moisturizer all over her face.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah,
Trying to clear out those pores. I got you.
exactly. I mean, she has a really long tongue, so maybe she's trying to clean that.
Hey, there we go. We know we know what we're talking about here at Anime Cast.
Yeah.
I think I actually mentioned this on my podcast today, but you know when you see they're introducing a female character and they have a clip of like her from behind, but they only show her feet and they're about to pan up. You know what's gonna happen, right? They're going to, the minute it gets to her butt, zoom in. And then once it gets up to her tits, zoom in. And then once it gets up to her face, zoom in. And it's like, bro, like, do we really? I can see that she's fine as hell from
But you're showing
like,
the uniform. What are you talking about?
yeah. Oh, that's true. Because it has the badge right there next to the titty, right? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a little bit of that today. And I was just like, wait a minute. Actually, I think it was in the dungeon only I can enter. It happened to one of those characters. I think it was the healer. Oh, she was just like laying down, and all of a sudden it was like going up, and it was like ass, titty,
Actually, yeah.
face. Yeah.
I did
It
notice
happened.
that. I was like, that's weird. She's just sleeping. I mean, you could have just done a slow pan done.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. There's so many better moments to do that, and it is kind of an interesting way to like introduce a character, right? And then always whenever well, not always, but obviously she was sleeping, but usually like for some reason when a girl's like standing up, when they zoom in on the boob, it's like there's just a jiggle. There's just a jiggle for no reason. There's no movement. There's no kinetic energy that would have
Yes,
forced
because
that
of the quality. Everything needs an intro. Everything.
It's like
that's
all
true.
boobs are made of Jello. I mean, that's the kind of take on it. It's like, hey, Johnny.
I mean, isn't that just extra animation though? Like,
Yeah, that's what the budget does.
do you have one guy just sitting over there drooling, just like, how am I gonna get these boobies to jiggle a little bit more?
He just has one like half dome of Jello. He just hits it. And he's like, "That's what I'm gonna animate today."
Dude, I mean, it's kind of like
Starts like typing.
it's kind of like Batman Arkham Asylum. Have you ever heard this story where it took it took one guy 2 years to get the cape animations right for
Wow.
Batman Arkham Asylum, and then they used it over and over again. But it took them like 2 years to get that cape animation just right. So here's some guy, like there's some guy in some animation room somewhere just getting these jiggle physics down, and we salute you, sir. So yeah, what about you, Johnny? What are some you don't have to give examples, but just what are some
I'm very interested in what Johnny would say
yeah.
because
He's our
I've
fan
clashed
service expert.
heads. Yeah, I've clashed heads with him about fan service before.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I understand. Personally, I'm kind of like, I don't know if those are necessarily fan servicey moments. I mean, the one I think you talked about later on was the grope. Obviously, yes.
Yeah.
But I do understand that there is a bit of a contextual implication there, and admittedly, My Hero is not really. I don't view it as a fan service.
Hold on, Johnny. Look at that
anime.
again and tell me that's not fan service. Look at that again.
No, I understand.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's fan service. I mean, your brain, man. Anyway.
Wow, throwing the blame directly at me. He's like,
Metaphor,
yeah,
bull,
It's a
metaphor.
contextual implication. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, yes, we all see that because we all have an idea in our brain. But I mean, if it was clear, it would that contextual.
yeah, but why
It'll go
isn't
away.
it clear? No. This is not a hot fire. This is not a hot fire episode. I'm just saying, if they wanted to be clear and not fan servicey, they wouldn't show her top half with drool coming down her mouth. Like there was no need for that scene.
Well, here, let
They
me
could just show her have handcuffs in her hand. And be
let me
like,
back
wait,
up
okay,
a
we
little
got
bit. Pandora, this. Let's go back. I was talking about the grope one, but that's fine. I do see what you're talking about with that one. Okay, it doesn't. It's a little bit unnecessary. They could have done it better. Like I mean, I think if they had it done it clear, it would have been absolutely fine. There would be much less of a problem. But I feel like there's a lot going on there that it is a bit more fan servicey, even though
Yeah.
My Hero is not a fan servicey anime. And personally, I like fan service and I don't mind it, but I also don't want it to get in the way of a good show or in the way of good characters. So, I mean, that's probably my overall view of I'm going to say the wrong thing again, accidental fan service.
unexpected,
Come on,
accidental.
Johnny.
There it
Come on,
is,
It's in the title.
unexpected.
I've already done this. It's like, oh my
Yeah,
god. The merch is
yeah.
already out. We're selling it. I'm saying,
Yeah,
The video's already out. We're
Yeah.
still making it.
yeah, it's
Get the
crazy.
shirts
We're
on
live
that.
streaming this. We're
So, yeah.
I have a similar story to you, Michael, with Fruppy, but you guys never watched the original Fate Stay Night, right? The one that I told you not to watch because
What's that one called?
it's called Fate Stay Night. It's not called
Is it
Unlimited
like
Blade
Fate
Works.
/ Stay Night?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
I
I
think that's
watched
it.
that.
Oh, you did
Yeah,
watch
I
it?
watched it. Yeah.
So there's a moment in there that made me like. So Saber's so for people that don't know, there's like 7 different classes: Saber, Lancer, all that kind of stuff. Saber is I actually won't spoil who they are, just in case you haven't watched it. But
Saber wields a
she's a
sword.
very like stoic character, leader, all that kind of stuff. And she's never been I've never really looked at her as like, oh my god, she's like super hot. I've always looked at her as like a dignified kind of hot, right? Like when you see her in her street clothes, it's like, oh yeah, she's very traditional Japanese, or well, she's not actually Japanese, but when she's dressed up like that, you kind of think of that. And then there's a scene in that Fate Stay Night where she's like in a hot tub or a bathtub or something like that, and Shiro accidentally gets comes in and she's like, stop looking at me. I know you don't like muscular women and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh my goodness, guys, what have you done to my Saber? That's why I completely, even though that show does fill in a lot of things that Unlimited Blade Works does, that moment just pissed me off so much. I was like, what did you do to my Saber? What did you do to Saber? How dare you? This is unacceptable.
Do you do this?
I've already sent actually I won't go through with that because you'll see, animators, you'll see. But anyway, but yeah, it is an interesting thing. And then there's also I don't remember if this is in a Naruto movie or if it's in one of the fillers, because one of the fillers kind of goes through the same thing. I think it's from Naruto Road to Ninja, where they have this scene where all the girls are at the hot tubs and all the boys are at the hot tub, and like Sakura's she just happens to notice like, oh my god, Hinata's got a huge rack, and her boobs just keep on floating up, and she's like, I can't keep them down. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Hinata's holding, she's crossing her arms, and she's like, and then Sakura's like, oh, don't worry, we're all ladies here, we don't have to be embarrassed. She's like, no, that's not it. They won't stop floating up, and then Sakura's like, oh. But stuff like that is pretty funny. I mean, that's a pretty common comedic bit in anime to talk about. It's usually a flat versus round kind of thing. That's a really common thing in a lot of anime. Do you think there's ever where do you think they cross the line into hentai category with, like, obviously we're talking about unexpected fan service in anime, but sometimes people see like one little thing of fan service, like, yo man, what are you doing, go to hentai? Like they just assume that they're crossing the line right there.
Yeah.
But when do you kind of take actually not even hentai, where do you draw the line at, like, okay, this is definitely a fan service anime, even though it's like Dungeon, right? The Dungeon Only I Can Enter, that's crossed the realm to me to fan service anime.
Also, that's an innuendo in and of itself.
Oh
The
my
dungeon
God.
only I can enter. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No.
to be honest, like that's like the prime point. Is that's when I don't like fan service when it makes action or it makes very lewd moments in an anime that's not specifically fan service anime. Like, I think it was maybe Sword Art where they're like, there's someone walking around. Yeah, Sword Art has a ton, but like Sword Art like kind of gets ridiculous by the end of the first season where it's like, do we need to go that far? Like we get like we're having fun in a virtual space, and then you just throw in like pounds of this fan service. I'm like, were you getting it? The store must be out by now.
Dude, that
Yeah,
tentacle scene pissed me off so much.
it's just
I
unnecessary.
was done with that one. That almost made me quit the series. I almost legit quit off Sword Art Online from there. I was just like, oh,
Ray Art Online.
Ray Sword Zero Art Line.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly though. Like that's when I get upset about it, and like that's usually where Johnny and I have clashed. Where Johnny's like, I like fan service, and I'm like, I appreciate fan service too when it's done in moderation, just like all things. In certain instances, it's appropriate. In certain instances, it's just there because they're like, oh, we can get an extra like 10 views out of this because everybody knows there's a fan service scene in this episode. I'm like, okay, like we can calm down with it. I mean, like Naruto obviously has a bunch from Naruto transforming to Jiraiya, like Kakashi sometimes, or implied with his book. But like they stop doing it, not all the time, but a lot in Shippuden rather than the beginning, right?
Yeah, well, when they do it, I mean, it's against a pretty unexpected thing, and then it becomes funny again because it's like, oh, we haven't seen this forever, so it
Especially
does
like
kind of,
against like that fight
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Well, that's what I was saying, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what about for you, Johnny? When you
Yeah.
when you're looking at an anime and you start to see things, how far does it have to go? Like, would you agree with me that the dungeon only I can enter has entered fan service realm in terms of like that's the genre of anime it can be put under, or would you
Suck
still
on
call
Lucky's
it?
ear.
Would you still call it a because I think we can still say it's an action adventure fan service. I don't know if that would be correct.
I definitely
Or
think it's a fan service.
mhm.
Yeah. I mean, even beyond the really obvious stuff, there's a lot of just there's levels of fan service that you see, from like, oh, she's walking and there's a slight jiggle to, oh, he's, up her dress. Okay, yeah. I mean, there's obviously different levels, but yeah, because of the frequency and how much there is, I'd say that kind of makes it a fan service.
I didn't realize because I really like Code Geass, but like when I rewatched a few scenes while making your video, and there's this moment where her name's Colin, yeah, where she's like fighting in a bunny suit, which I'm like, okay, that's fine, that's obvious fan service for the audience, right? But then she like after kicking two people in the head, she lands, and then her boobs go jiggle jiggle. I'm like, what was that for? Like
Well, to be fair, they do have to move. Could they animate that in a different way? Sure.
Yeah.
But they do have to move. That is legitimate. It's gravity. Blah. Everything goes down. So that does make some sense. Granted, it is still fan service, and I'm happy with it.
Well, and that's the thing, but I mean, like not putting that there wouldn't be a disservice to watching it. Like it was about the action of her being kick-ass, and then your eye is dragged to movement, so it becomes a moment of fan service. Like as an animator, you know what like you're trying to draw your eye to. You're not trying to make every single scene realistic. Like otherwise, animation would be completely different. And obviously, the people in Code Geass wouldn't have such long legs and be like oddly animated. So, like that's more like when it's unnecessary is my issue. It's a little.
That actually brings up a really good question, though, Johnny. I mean, because I'm somewhat in the middle of this whole thing because I mean I really like the problem I have
Michael,
is when
Lucky,
yeah
Johnny.
well I have a problem when
Johnny,
fan
Lucky
service
Mike.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I have a problem with only when fan service they act fan servicey towards characters that just don't like they don't require it, they've never been that before, and then they just start doing that kind of thing. But you know, when we talk about like unexpected fan service, does that also mean unwelcomed to you? Because I feel like when we're talking about this, I was thinking about this and I was like, one of the things that one of the examples I brought up was Wake Up Girls. There's these girls that like it's an idol anime. These 12 to 13-year-olds, bro. They get they have to do like odd jobs on the side, and one of them is like they're all like in bikinis at this like bar where these old guys are all just ogling them. One of them slaps one of them on the butt, and I quit it. I was like, yo, I'm done. I'm done. But I mean, are there? We are talking about unexpected anime. Is it always to the average viewer? Is it always unnecessary? Is it always not welcome? Like I wonder how normal people would view it. Like in your view, Johnny, how would you think a normal person would be like if they saw Dragon Ball, right? The scenes with Bulma, just like just showing it all. How do you think a normal person, like not somebody like us that have been corrupted, would take those scenes?
I mean, I don't know. It kind of obviously it depends because every person's different. I mean, blanket answer, whatever. But I mean, see, I mean, I can watch that, and weirdly, I don't enjoy that scene as a fan service moment. I guess I'll say that. So I mean, I don't. That's fair. I don't even know what scene we're talking about, but the scene I went to was when he's going to Bulma and he starts looking under her dress when she's sleeping, or the shirt that she's wearing, and she's like, "Where's your penis? Or where are your balls?"
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one like that's a fan servicey moment, but I mean, I think it's funny just because he's only lived with a dude like all of his life, and apparently his grandpa never said anything about women, so he has no idea.
And always letting that boy rest on his balls.
That's ridiculous too. Like that's insane. Like what? So to me, that's not necessarily a fan service moment that we get to see Bulma's panties, but it's just funny to me. I mean, I don't know necessarily what scene you were thinking about.
It's pretty similar. It's the one where
it's where Oolong
she pulls up her dress. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, that one where she does that. Where she does that for Master Roshi.
Yeah.
She's gonna show him her panties, and then
she's not wearing any. So then all of a sudden you get to see like her butt and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah. So I mean, it sounds like you had mentioned this before that it would really depend on the context of the whole situation. Like with Froppy, obviously she did throw up something, so there would be drool there. Did they have to show that? Maybe not. But there is.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's even taking like one frame out of the thing. I mean, obviously, if you just take that, you have no idea what's happened in that scene. But since we watched it, we know that something came out of her. It was, I don't remember what she actually got, but she had to get something out of her stomach, like you had said.
Oh, yeah.
But I like for that scene specifically, mostly because that's what I can remember.
What?
It was just not called for during that moment either. Like, I mean, I could make other references to other anime that's doing that. This is just the most recent. I feel like a lot of people have seen My Hero, so they would understand like that reference. It's like, yeah, she pulled something out of her stomach. You didn't see her pull something out of her stomach. You didn't see her put her stomach back in. And the purpose was so you didn't see what she pulled out. But the after effect was still like, you could have easily not needed that. Like,
oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. You're talking about like mainly like if they had showed the whole process, it would have been better. But since they only showed like the last part, you knew it was more intentional.
Yeah, and they did an up and down pan of her, like from the low, like from low up to her face. I mean, like it's the same thing they do when they like, you see a girl walking by and it does an up and down. See Euro Trip, they go up and down that lady with the French music, and that, like, I mean, that's my bigger thing is like there's just some moments that are just like, okay. Like, again, like the Colin scene, it's like, you didn't need to make them jiggle because it wasn't about that. It's not about her boobs in that situation. It's about how kick-ass she was. And I get, they need to move, but after watching so much fan service, they move literally all the time in fan service. Like that, I almost said Zombieland. High School of the Dead, like, that's extreme. And I'll say, nothing that happens in there is unnecessary because it's a ridiculous fan service anime. It's okay if you start with the guise of fan service, like you are a fan service anime. I literally think that you can just go wherever. Like it doesn't matter because you're a fan service anime. There's the strip mall the one with the vampires.
Oh, I know what you're. Keep a Strip.
Yeah, Keep a Strip. That one is like they've got to strip them and then they die from light, even though they're out in the sunlight anyways. Yeah, and then they destroy their clothes, and I'm like, okay, that's ridiculous. But you're a fan service anime. It's okay. Like that's fine. Like you're already saying like Mocking Key. there's so many upskirts in that anime. Like there's over like they're just standing there and
I didn't mean to make him rewatch that.
they're just standing there and it's like their skirts aren't low enough. They're just like above their panty line constantly.
I'm gonna be
But
honest
that's
with you.
okay.
I really,
I don't know if
Johnny,
you watched like the later episodes. They get more ridiculous.
dude, Johnny showed me an
There's
episode
only
of that,
all
and
the
I've been
characters.
meaning to watch it for so long, and I was like, man, you just reminded
It's
me of it. I
funny.
just, yeah, I was like, oh man, this sounds great. I mean, it is kind of like what I had mentioned before, right? Like, not all anime stay in one genre, like in terms of like it always is serious. It is always a comedic. Like, I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen's a great example of that. It's like it's a really weirdly serious topic, and they have some of the best jokes that I've ever heard of, and a lot of American jokes, by the way. That is
All of the
ridiculous.
relevancy to other anime also is really
Oh,
funny.
yeah, it's great. So yeah, it is an interesting thing when we add fan service to the mix, because then we get sometimes it just ends up our minds kind of end up just going there, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, why was that there? And then there is kind of that that whole thing. It does make me worry a little bit, just because of people coming into anime and they see them seeing just like one fan service shot and just be like, this is all that anime is. That's all it ever is. Oh my god. And then I'm just like, oh my god. Okay, listen, you need to calm down. Why don't you go watch a good wholesome one like Redo of Healer? You'll be fine.
Oh, I do have a question for both of you guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you both could agree that there are fan service anime and then there's anime with fan service, right?
Sure.
For you, I feel like there, at least, okay, for me at least, there is never unexpected fan service in a fan service anime. It's not coming out of left field. It's never like, oh, why'd they do that? It's like, if you're watching, you know what you're watching. For an anime that has fan service in it, is there any that come to your mind that have stepped over that line? Like even the thing with Froppy, like I wasn't up in arms about. I'm more just like think because we're targeting something specific. I'm more like thinking about it in that context.
It was just too much.
Yeah, thinking back on it, it's just a little too much. But I love My Hero, and I run with it. But is there any anime you guys can look back on right now that like comes to your mind is like not a fan service anime, but an anime that has fan service in it that just was like, okay, why don't you bring it down a couple levels? Because like you were talking while you guys are thinking, like you were talking about, like, you know, when they pan up and down of like new ladies, it's like it's not necessary. Like Jujutsu Kaisen, I feel like it's very lax on the fan service because its story is so awesome and rocking. It doesn't need that at all. I think it's I really can't. I'm new to it, so I really can't think of a really good fan service part.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
also, I think they let their women do the talking for them, in
Yeah,
a
they
lot
do.
of it. So, I mean, they're all, let's just say they're not skinny women. They're definitely got the
Lucky,
got
what kind of woman do you like? I like big leg, big butt women.
big butt women like Jennifer Lawrence. I love
Yeah,
that.
dude,
I love that
was
line.
so good.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's definitely I mean, I mentioned one earlier, Wake Up Girls. It's an idol anime, and like I said, these girls are like super underage. They're getting like slapped on the butt by these old guys. Now, granted, they don't stay in that environment, but I was just like, I mean, a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I've never actually, besides that though, never really oh, sorry, and then Fate Stay Night, obviously, because I love Saber, and what they did to her was criminal. Should be
Yeah, where you're
prosecuted by law.
you show one of your anime ladies as one way, and then you completely change that in a different episode. Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of anything else, not really. I mean, there is. No, actually, no. I was cheering at that part. Never mind. I was gonna say never mind. Yeah, I mean, but I'm a little bit like Johnny. I wrote this. Actually, Johnny, let me hear your answer real quick before
Yeah,
I go on.
I'd be
into a
interested to
tangent.
hear if there's anything that Johnny's saying.
Top of my head, I haven't thought of a second one yet, but Fire Force. I
Oh.
still like the fan service, but what they've done to Tamaki previous to what they're possibly doing now, I really it upset me. I didn't like seeing Tamaki, who started off strong with some pretty cool attributes, and admittedly just being kind of a klutzy fan service occasionally, which I was totally fine with. She became almost That's all she does is fan
Yeah.
service. And it's just happening so often. I mean, I liked it, but I was like, I don't need that. I want to see you doing stuff because I know you can. So in that respect, yeah, now I'm glad that she might be doing stuff, but I'm also worried about, are they gonna just kind of slip back to that? Or are they gonna keep a balance, or just no, now she's useful and awesome?
Quick, I don't want to detract from Lucky, but I also want to hear you guys talk about where Nami was and how Nami is now. Thoughts?
I was actually going to bring that up as a question that I had, which is, at what point is it too far in hold on, what did you say? An anime that has fan service? Because obviously we all like One Piece.
Yeah, One Piece definitely is
And we
not
like-
a fan service.
As far as I know, we like the fan service, but yeah, there's a huge change between like that 3-year gap,
a
where they all
huge
become-
change.
enormously huge hits. And furthermore, I mean, there was that episode recently where they're in the bathhouse, and I don't remember exactly what happens, but they end up naked. And they're just like all out, and Soba Mask has to jump around and deal with that while he's bleeding from his face. So I'm like, I don't think anybody had a problem with that fan service. So I'm also
Yeah.
like, where's that line for you guys?
And real quick, because One Piece has constantly had their characters changing in their measurements. If we look at Nami from the first 10 episodes, she was not blown out in proportions. Not at all.
No, I thought she had good size titties going on there. And then they do a 3-year jump, and it's insane.
Well, no, I'm talking about episode 10.
Uh-huh.
And then we come to today's episode, or not today's episode, but the past 100 episodes, and her dimensions are ridiculous. Like, her back must hurt, although she's very fit and probably has stronger than half the people I know.
And I say her back might be ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, I think because we've slowly devolved into a 15-year span of just being steeped in One Piece, I don't think it's as ridiculous. But
I think so. I'm kind of torn on this. So obviously, crazy proportions. I totally get that. It would be weirder if she was older, if you know what I mean. If you guys remember, I think after the time skip, Zoro's the oldest at 19 or 20. And so everybody's still in their teenage years. So at least it's somewhat believable that she would at least grow. I mean, not that much, but obviously there's if she was if it was now, I mean, the one that kind of I don't know if Robin's changed that much. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
about that.
No, she did.
She did. Okay, so that's the
Definitely
one.
did.
That's the one where I'm like, okay, she's 30. Well, how is she? What's she doing? Is she adding a couple hands there? What's going on? They're all cupping. And there's adding a little stuff there, but obviously also the animation changed a little bit. So, Luffy doesn't look nearly as scrawny anymore. There is a change as well to that. But obviously he doesn't look crazy. So yeah, it is an interesting. That I have more problem with Robin than I do Nami. But yeah, it is. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up is high heels. So that, I mean, maybe not considered fan service. It could be fan service for a wow. That's definitely a big
that's episode
change.
5. That's episode 500.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a pretty good change. Pretty good change right there.
For all of you in the podcast, we are looking. Just look up Nami over the years, and you will see a big change. Big change.
But I think in the video or the picture that you just showed, the one with Nami with the bikini top, she's wearing high heels. And I don't like that they do that, because I'm just like, I mean, what's the point? Why do these people wear high heels? I get it with Boa Hancock because she's always hot, and that's kind of her thing, right? That's what she really needs. But I was also gonna say I wrote a philosophy paper a long time ago about erotic art, and just how
Ooh.
I was tired of people saying oh, this is the male gaze, all that kind of stuff. It's okay, but that's part of the experience. Is you're kind of supposed to be you're supposed to be taken in by this woman's beauty. There's eroticism in there. That's part of the experience, right? Saying that, it kind of also brings me back to when unexpected fan service does come in. If you're supposed to take that art as a whole, then that's part of it. That becomes part of it. So if that part of the art bothers you, it it can lead to kind of a downhill kind of spiral. But yeah, it's definitely, we could talk like forever about fan service,
Well,
dude. It's crazy.
I was also gonna say, just because it's for the male gaze doesn't also mean like it's also there's some females out there who are digging
Oh,
this
dude,
fan service as
dude,
well. Like
have you seen
ladies
the
love
Resident-
ladies, man.
Have you seen the Resident Evil 8 lady? How much crazy dude, I had a friend on my Facebook page, just a girl just
Oh.
blow up, and she was like, oh my god, like ever since I saw all this Resident Evil 8 lady stuff, I was like, I didn't think I was on the bandwagon, but I'm down. And we had a good conversation about how we were both down to have sex with an 8'9" girl. She's like 8 foot.
Oh,
she's yeah, she's like humongous. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, and maybe we'll do another do another one of these casual discussions about it. But as usual, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments down below some unexpected fan service where you were just like, what the heck is that? And is it intrusive for you, or maybe it's welcomed? Let us know down in the comments down below. Also, there on YouTube and podcast everywhere, I will be putting a link down to our link tree where you can see all of the casual content, generally casuals, podcast with Michael and Michael, Richard, and Corey. Richard is Michael's brother, for people that don't know out there. And we also have, it's crazy. He has a brother. It's crazy. We also have my Mental Health Casual network on there, and of course Anime Casuals, and all of our stuff can be found on that link tree. But yeah, as usual, guys, don't forget to keep it casual.